you for joining us for this session. Today, we'll be talking about release management with Looker and how you can better catch errors in your LookML and ultimately your content before they're in production. I am Sarah Wiltberger. I'm a product manager on Looker's model development team, and I'm here with John.
Hi, I'm John DiMartino, a senior solutions technical consultant with Looker's professional services team.
And for today's agenda, I'll first give an overview of the content testing processes we've seen customers use and how these processes become more robust as a customer matures with Looker or has more critical content. And then John will introduce you to our recommended release process for the most important content in most robust systems, MultiInstance Promotion. So first, the different content testing processes we've seen customers use and what we recommend based on how mature your team is and the importance of your content. For a small team just starting to use Looker, often uptime SLAs on content is not the most important thing that they are thinking about. Often these teams are still learning the ropes of how to develop governed content with LookML in the first place. With these teams, we see a pretty informal testing process. Each developer makes their own LookML commits, and there's not really a QA process for code or content changes. And this is okay as a workflow if you only have a single developer without a counterpart to review code changes. However, this introduces challenges as the team or company grows, or you expand the use of Looker in your organization. When multiple developers work together, a review process should be implemented to ensure the code is compliant with your organization's standards. What we see is that teams will implement pull requests and have a formalized review process. And this ensures consistency in the LookML that is developed and accountable change management. As the content built in Looker becomes even more important, this is when you want to put controls in place to ensure business critical reports are validated and you fix existing saved content that may break. This may be when you implement a testing framework. For example, you could require data tests in Looker to pass before deploying code to production so core metrics are validated. You also want to make sure that all developers are running the content validator to discover and fix any broken content. You could even automate these QA checks into a CI/CD pipeline and use things like GitHub Actions, Jenkins, Cloud Build, etc. Lastly, for customers that have strict uptime requirements or embedded content in external applications, it is imperative that content be robustly tested before being pushed to production to ensure that nothing will break and there is no downtime. For these customers, we recommend our most robust release management process, MultiInstance Promotion. This is a release management process with multiple Looker instances, which allows you to separate development and testing of LookML and content from the end analytical consumption in a production instance. This allows for changes like updating metrics definitions or dashboards without downtime or breaking them for end users. And with that, I'll hand it over to John, who will give more details on what exactly is Looker Multi-Instance Promotion and if it is right for your organization.
So, what is multi-Looker instance promotion? Simply put, this is when your deployment architecture consists of two or more Looker instances separated into production and non-production. In traditional software development, it is necessary to have separate, isolated environments for each stage in the development cycle. These environments are kept as similar as possible with strict control on the progression of code from one to the next. This improves speed and predictability of deployments because defects can be found, diagnosed clearly, and fixed without disturbing the developer workflow or customer-facing assets. In Looker terms, this would mean we are decoupling customer-facing environments, production, from where developers are creating new features and from where testing activities occurs, non-production. The diagram you're seeing depicts three different Looker instances: development, staging, and production. The development instance is where LookML developers create new features, fix bugs, run experiments, develop content that is centrally managed, and most importantly, make mistakes. The staging instance is where our testers can run manual checks as well as automated tests. So think content validator, regression testing on new fields, or drill paths on existing content. This environment is used as a mixing ground for reviewing and validating changes. Typically, no LookML changes should occur in the staging instance. Production is where our business users and customers are interacting with the Looker data platform. This environment should be as free of errors as possible because it is highly visible area. There should be no updates to the LookML code in the production instance. We use a combination of Git's version control and API workflows for deployment between environments. There are typically two components involved in the deployment: LookML code and content. As a quick refresher, LookML code lives within the files that are stored in a project, and that project should be configured to a remote repository via a Git service provider. Looker also has three types of content: user-defined dashboards, looks, or LookML dashboards. Again, the key benefit of multiple environments is that it allows for all development and testing to occur without disrupting customer-facing experiences. The number one scenario we want to avoid is broken content being discovered by our end users. Some of you might be wondering, but Looker already has two modes to prevent this from happening: development mode and production mode. Unfortunately, this doesn't apply to certain types of content. User-defined dashboards and looks are not version controlled, and all of their metadata and state is stored in Looker's internal databases. Changes made to them are immediately reflected in Looker, whether you are in development mode or production mode. Thus, content drift can occur sometimes when a developer makes code changes and the content is not aligned with the model for a window of time until those code changes are deployed. This prevents the possibility of user acceptance testing happening in production mode on a single environment without impacting all users. This type of restriction can hold back experimentation and development of new features. By preventing untested LookML code changes on the production instance, we are lowering the risk for any errors or broken content from negatively affecting that user experience. And risk is what we are trying to mitigate with this setup. So, having a development instance provides more control over the LookML development cycle, specifically which code is promoted to production and how testing is conducted on the centrally managed content. It also allows for more discrete provision of access. Users can have pared down roles in different environments for different purposes, which will provide better security. Testing scenarios can only be tested in production mode, such as data groups, persistent derived tables, and schedules. A separate instance allows testers to validate production mode performance, and we can also experiment with instance-wide features typically found in the lab settings. With a development instance, customers can join the Extended Support Release Program. This program is designed for customers who need a more gradual pace of deployment, every 3 months instead of every month. Quarterly updates occur on non-production instances, and customers are given 4 weeks before their production instance is upgraded. Ideally, customers should conduct tests on the lower environments on any business critical reports and pipelines before their production instance is upgraded. And finally, I believe this architecture allows companies to further embrace Looker as a data product. With a development instance, a team can deliver new features in chunks without jeopardizing code quality, predictable releases versus multiple updates per day, accompanied with release notes and change management communications to end users. Our goal is to design a repeatable deployment process that balances agility with stability. A stable data product begins to form the foundation of a data economy to foster a culture of building on others' work. Next, we will be going over key features that unlock this deployment. Migration between instances should include the LookML files along with any content. There are typically two types of migration scenarios. Scenario 1, all code-based with LookML dashboards, and scenario 2 would be LookML code plus user-defined dashboards. We will be going over scenario 1 today, where all dashboards are LookML. Customers that value change management workflows and the controls afforded by LookML dashboards via Git should consider this workflow. Teams can still create user-defined dashboards in development that they copy over to LookML dashboard files in their respective project. But I have met folks who love editing the LookML dashboard code directly. Code-based dashboards are version controlled and migrated along with the LookML code during code releases. So how do we push to production when using multiple Looker instances? We recommend utilizing advanced deploy. Starting in Looker 7.12, this feature, which is found in the project settings, enables a workflow where environments or Looker instances point to a different version of the codebase. We leverage Git's version control to work with one repository and issue either an API call, webhook, or through the UI deployment manager to set production mode to a specific commit, Git tag, or the head of a branch. In general, deploying to the head of a branch makes it easier to stay up to date with current releases, while deploying a commit or a SHA is useful when you need to roll back due to a hotfix. The rule of thumb, one repo per project across n Looker instances. In the past, LookML dashboards might not have satisfied all of your requirements like user-defined dashboards. Well, we are excited to announce a lab beta feature starting in 21.16 where LookML dashboards can now be moved to other folders. Moved LookML dashboards will remain code-based, but can now adhere to the security requirements driven by folder access. There are also two API endpoints to programmatically import and sync a LookML dashboard into a folder as a user-defined dashboard. Now that we've described what this promotion looks like, let's talk about when we should consider it. Managing multiple instances will require a strong development team with knowledge of Git and the Looker API. We strongly recommend that you have a deployment strategy in place before embarking on this path. This type of architecture is ideal for customers who are embedding content in external applications or who have strict corporate policies regarding development operations. This includes use cases where Looker is being used by clients to expose data to external customers that have uptime SLA requirements where content cannot be broken and temporary downtime is not acceptable. Clients with mandatory testing requirements that need to be conducted in isolated environments are also a good candidate. And finally, large deployments where changes are bundled in product releases on a regular cadence are good candidates for this architecture. If you're interested in learning more, please contact your FSR for a demo.
Thank you for joining us to learn about release management with Looker, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference.